Every great creative work stands on the shoulders of giants. Welcome to RetroInspection, where we examine and find out where the things we love today came from.
You want to talk about some of the things you found from time traders?
What, that we can see in later works?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we were talking about Star Trek a minute ago.
Right.
Okay, so A Private Little War, which is, and a couple of others, but Private Little War is the one where the Klingons are arming these primitive tradesmen on a planet. They're mad at this other tribe, only that the friggin' Klingons have given them like gunpowder rifles because people did not have that tech previously. Kirk and Spock got to beam down, and they got to face the question: well, do we just give the other guys phasers? So there's an element of that. The various Beaker tribes in this book are being manipulated by the Reds and to a lesser extent by the U.S. forces. It's not quite the same as that, but there is an element. Aaron of Mercy, the one with the Organians, where the Klingons have taken over this planet, and everybody's real pacifistic, and they don't want to fight the Klingon. Kirk and Spock are down there, urging them to fight, and it turns out the Organians are super powerful. Spoiler alert for 1966. But there's that in that Kirk and Spock have to go down in disguise. They can't go down openly as starship guys because they think it's a pre-warp civilization, and if Prime Directive goes out the window because the Klingons have already made the incursion. Same as with the other things. Ways to get around that. So they have to pose. And I think they say we're from the north or some nonsense like that. Stargate is what this reminded me of more than anything else. The time portal basically is just like an illuminated square on the floor, at least when the Russians do it, and that's how they go time to time. It's actually like a time room that sort of becomes like a tunnel in the U.S. version of the technology. And I'm sure Irwin Allen was like yoink as soon as he read that. But it's roughly equivalent to the Stargate. And again, on Stargate, sometimes they don't get to go in, with all their rifles and shit. They have to pretend to be part of the indigenous population of, Planet X that they go to. Those are the two that kind of jumped out at it for me. But again, you're going to get these elements in any sort of time travel story. One thing notably about this, she apparently does not give a fart about paradoxes. There's a little bit of, it gets mentioned. But it's more like not leaving anything behind that might pop up later in the archaeological record. Nobody's stepping on butterflies here.
Yeah, they do give lip service in Time Traders, where Ash is constantly warning Murdoch, "Hey, you cannot do anything of consequence in this time, because we don't know how it echoes forward in time. You could wipe out our entire existence just with one change."
Recognized, but it's not a big thing. It's kind of like, and that's kind of like Doctor Who. Doctor Who worries about paradoxes when it has to. Most of the time, it's like.
Well, if you think about it, there's not much. If you listen, now we're nitpicking her work, right? Because you can't really tell a story and think of all the ramifications. It's just going to happen
unduly. Yeah.
But if you have if you are the Russians and you build an entire base in northern Europe during just after the last BC. Ice Age.
Yeah.
Yeah, the remnants are going to be there. People probably will find them.
They're the bad guys. They don't care. To the point where
but Ash does say that the Russians are also very aware of changing history as well. So
Yeah.
somehow they know that.
They take a bomber through piece by piece to reassemble it on the far side to blow some guys up. So
yeah,
how much is this really sweating them?
Yeah, of course.
Right. That's the thing, because there is actually, at least in the Russian version of the technology, there is a limit to the amount of physical matter that can be sent at any one time.
Right. Can you imagine one bolt at a time? I don't think so.
Yeah, it's probably not that, but probably like a crate of stuff. And then you got to send the guys through to play, Ravel model on the far side.
Well, the one thing that the Russians do that makes a lot of sense is, and that ultimately ends up being their demise in that time, and then really going forward into in the books universe's time, in present time, is they only observe the technology they find. They don't turn it on, and they learn things that way. Because once Ross Murdoch turns on, can we say it? I guess we can, right? Once he turns on the spaceship,
are you sure?
Let's do it.
You could. All right, fuck it. You could stop there, but all right.
Right. I mean, I already did it. But so, once he does turn on the spaceship from, is it the Galactic Empire? Is that what they end up calling it? I can't remember.
Yeah.
But they're the Baldies. So
the Baldies.
And the Baldies, you learn in the following books that the Baldies had or have colonies everywhere in the galaxy, and were pretty ruthless in their time.
Again, and like
but they are also aware somehow. I'm not really quite sure if it ever gets explained in the books. I haven't read all of them, but they are involved in time travel themselves. So they have this vast store of technology just laying everywhere. And the Russians found a derelict ship in the northern
Baltic.
Europe. Yeah. And how they tracked it down, listen, these are the deficiencies in the book. You never really understand how they track it down.
I think it's implied that they stumble upon it, because remember the Baltics, that's like Estonia, Latvia.
Right.
The hell's the other one? Can't remember. Anywho, that's within, at the time of the book's writing, and presumably further on in the 21st century, that's within the Soviet sphere of influence. So that's one. Real quick, it turns out there was an updated edition of this done in 2000. She lived until 2005. She lived until 93, despite various health problems. But they updated it, and they actually moved the timeline of the books further ahead to try and account for real world changes. So this is
so she did that
post Glasnost, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
In 2000, so it doesn't become the Reds; it becomes like Greater Russia.
So, what do you remember? Were they simultaneously working on the ship in present day and in the past? Is that what was going on?
I don't remember. I know that at some point, the Americans figure out that there are ships also within their, sphere of influence or governance.
I wonder
is they can go after in the present day.
Right, and they end up finding it. Maybe the Americans end up finding these ships, and it ends up allowing both of the warring factions to colonize space, which you'll find out in the later books.
Like, subscribe, repost, share everywhere. To see what else we're up to, visit xynobooks.com, xenobooks.com.